Glorified be the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Elohim. Glorified be Adonai Mashiach, Yahweh Shai. And glorified be the Rakakadash, Kwam Jashrala. Greetings to the hopeful elect. Alright, family, well, you know, we're gonna do what we love to do, what we were born to do, and that's do the work of the Most High, you know what I'm saying? Do our proclamation, testimony, and spread His word out there, for the hopeful elect, for the brothers and sisters, that belong to the 144 and the 1/3 remnant. We're gonna proceed. We're gonna go to continue with Second Kings, because, like I said, First Kings, Second Kings, First Chronicles, Second Chronicles, very, very important, because basically that's knowing who you are, where you went wrong and whatnot, and it's very frustrating to read, these books, because our people, we repeat the same stupidity over and over again. That's what, like I said, our whole head is sick, man. That goes for both of us, South and Northern Kingdom. We're just, man, that's where we need salvation. Now, let's go to chapter 11, right? It says here, Athaliah's reign over Judah, okay? Now, when Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, okay, you gotta say Athaliah means the time of Yahweh, and Ahaziah's mother means, the one Yah has grasped, you know what I'm saying? Saw that her son was dead, she said about to destroy all the royal family. Okay, because, in the time of Yah, you know what I'm saying? Her son, you know what I'm saying, was grasped. He was dealt with, you know what I'm saying, for his treachery. That's what it means, see? You guys to understand the scriptures, to understand what it's saying. Now, because remember that Israelites, every word, every name had a meaning, had a reason, and it all had Yah in it, because we're His people who have His name. So let's proceed. But Yohesheba, which means Yahweh is an oath, King of Joram's daughter, Ahaziah's sister. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Joram means to elevate. You know what I'm saying? Sister took Yoash, you know what I'm saying, the fire of Yahweh, that's what that means, of Ahaziah, and stole him away from amongst the king's children who were about to be killed. She put him in his nurse, basically in the ones that Yahweh was going to grasp. She saved him in the bedroom. Thus she hid him from Athaliah, the time of Yahweh's judgment, so that he was not killed. He remained with her 6 years, hiding in the house of the Most High, while Athaliah reigned over the land. Now it says, Jehoiada anoints the child Joash. Okay, so Jehoiada means Yahweh knows. Okay, so then I guess Yahweh knew the child. So Joash means he elevated his fire. He knew his flare. His burning fire. But in the 7th year, Jehoiada summoned the captains of the Karites. Karites are like the like the guardians. You know what I'm saying? Like like the watchmen. You know what I'm saying? The lifeguards. You know what I'm saying? And of the guards, and had them come to him in the house of the Most High. He made a covenant with them and put them under oath in the house of the Most High. Then he showed them the king's son. He commanded them, "This is what you are to do. 1/3 of you, those who will go off duty on the Sabbath and guard the king's house. Another third being at the gate, serve, and third at the gate behind the guards shall guard the palace. And your 2 divisions that come on duty in force on the Sabbath and guard the house of the Most High shall surround the king, each with weapons in hand. And whoever approaches the ranks is to be killed. Be with the king in his coming and goings." The captains did according to all that the priest Jehoiada, the one that Yahweh knows, commanded. Each brought his men who were to go out duty on the Sabbath with those who were to come on duty on the Sabbath, and came to the priest Jehoiada, and the priest delivered the captains spears and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of Elohim. The guards stood, every man with his weapons, in his house from the south side of the house to the north. That's both kingdoms, South and Northern Kingdom. I'm saying, both of us. I'm saying, to guard the kings on every side. Then he brought out the king, so they put the crown on him and gave him the covenant. They proclaimed him king and anointed him. They clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king!" Okay, so you watch, saying that, which means the one that Yahweh elevated, king. Now it says the death of Athaliah means the death of the time of Yahweh's wrath. When Athaliah heard the noise of the guard on the people, she went into the house of the Most High to the people. When she looked there was a king standing by the pillar according to the custom, with captains and the trumpeters beside the king. And all the people of the land rejoiced and blowing trumpets. Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, treason, treason. Then the priest Jehoiada, the one that Yah knows, commanded the captains who were with her who were set over her army, bring her out between the ranks and kill with the sword anyone who follows her. For the priest said, let her not be killed in the house of the Most High. So they laid hands on her. She went through the horses and traces to the king's house, and there she was put to death. Jehoiada made a covenant between Yahweh and the king and people that they should be Yahweh Elohim's people. Basically, it's like a family. Jehoiada, the one that Yahweh knows, he made a covenant between the people and the king. That means that Yahweh knew both the people and the king. That's what it means. Hallelujah. Now it says, also between the king and the people. Right then, all the people of the land went to the house of Baal and tore it down, his altars, his image. They broke it in pieces, and they killed Matatan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. The priest posted guards over the house and the Lord of the Lord, and he took the captives. He basically kicked sun worshiping out of Israel, because like once you become Jehoiada, that means once you become one that Yahweh knows, and you know who your king is and your people, and you are in unison with the Most High, then you don't be sun worshiping no more, or idolism. Okay, and then they brought the king down from the house of the Most High, marching through the gates of the guards to the king's house. He took his seat on the throne, so that all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after Athaliah had been killed. The time of turmoil, judgment with the sword at the king's house. Jehoash was 7 years old when he began reigning. Now, that's the end of chapter 11. Now, chapter 12, the temple repaired. It says, in the 7th year of Yehu, Yehu is the one. Yahweh is. Jehoash began to reign. He reigned for 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba. Zibiah means like a gazelle, just random woman, running wild. And the Beersheba means like the well of oath, like a place where you commit to something. Pretty much the wilderness kind of, So Jehoash did what was right in the sight of the Most High in his days, because the priest Jehoiada, the one Yahweh knows, instructed him. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away. The people continued to sacrifice and make offerings on the high places. Joash, basically, their hearts and their and their fleshly desires weren't fully with the Most High. You have to be fully in tune. Wear a complete armor. Now Joash said to the priest, all the money offered as sacred donation, what is brought into the house of the Most High, the money for which each person is assessed, the money from the assessment of persons, and the money from the volunteer offering, brought into the house of the Most High, let the priest receive from each of the donors, and let them repair the house of whoever any needs of repairs discovered. But by the 23rd year of King Jehoash, the priest had made no repairs on the house. Therefore King Jehoash summoned the priest Jehoiada, and saying the one that Yahweh knows, with the other priests, and said, why are you not repairing the house? Now therefore do not accept any money from your donors, but hand it over for repairs of the house. So the priests agreed that they would neither accept money from the people nor repair from the house. Then the priest Jehoiada took a chest, made a hole in its lid, and set it beside the altar on the right side as he entered the house of the Most High. The priest who guarded the treasure put in all the money that was brought into the house of the Most High. Whenever they saw that there was a great deal of money in the chest, the king's secretary and the high priest went up, counted the money that was found in the house of the Most High, and tied it up in the bag. They would give the money that was weighed into the hands of the workers who had the oversight of the house of the Elohim. So the ones spreading the gospel and the word, But then they paid it out to the carpenters and the builders who worked on the house of the Most High, to the masons and the stone cutters, as well as to the terminals, quarantine stoners for making the repairs on the house, as well as for any outlays for repairs of the house. But the house of Elohim, no basins of silver, snuffers, bowls, trumpets, or any vessels of gold or of silver were made from the money that was brought into the house of Elohim, for that was given to the workers who were repairing the house of the Most High. They did not ask in counting from those in whose hand they delivered the money to pay out the workers, for they dealt honestly. The money from the guilt offering and the money from the sin offerings was brought into the house of the Lord. It belonged to the priest. Basically, there was no sun worship, no moon worshiping, none of that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's saying. That's what it was good. You know what I'm saying? Spiritually. Now, Hazael threatens Jerusalem and her sails and other names of the sun, for divination. You know what I'm saying? Now, at the time, King Hazael of Aram, basically, the king of the sun worshippers, went up, fought against Gath, and took it. But when Hazael set his face to go up against Jerusalem, King Jehoash of Judah took all the voting gifts that Jehoshaphat, Jehoram, and Ahaziah, his ancestors, the kings of Judah, had dedicated, as well as his own voting gifts, all the gold that was found the house of the Most High, and sent these to King Hazael of Aram. Then Hazael withdrew from Jerusalem. Basically, he sent anybody that didn't want to be Israelite. You know what I'm saying? You can go ahead. You know what I'm saying? You want to follow the gold standard, silver, sun and the moon, then go ahead. Basically, now death of Joash. Now says, okay, so death of the one that had been elevated. Now the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the annals of the kings of Judah? His servants arose, devised a conspiracy and killed Joash in the house of Milo on the way to going down to Selah. It was Josachar, son of Shineam, and Jehoshaphat, son of Shomer, his servants, who struck him down, so that he died. So he died, and he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Okay, and his son Amaziah took over. Okay, and saying Jehoshaphat means Yah has remembered. So the ones that Yah has remembered took him down. Now it says here at chapter 13, Jehoash reigns over Israel. In the 23rd year of Jehoash son Ahaziah of Judea, Jehoash son of Jehu began to reign in Samaria. He did what was evil in the sight of the Most High. He went back to just wickedness and iniquity, and he committed the sins of the son of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which he caused Israel to sin, and did not depart from them. The anger of the Most High was kindled against him, so that he gave them repeatedly into the hands of King Hazael of Aram, basically back to sun worshiping and idolatry. You know what I'm saying? But Jehoash and threatened the Most High, and the Most High heeded him, for he saw the oppression of Israel, how the king of Aram oppressed them. Therefore the Most High gave Israel a savior, so that they escaped from the hands of Arameans, and the people of Israel lived their homes informally. Nevertheless, they did not depart from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, which he caused Israel to sin, but walked in them. In them the sacred posts also remained in Samaria. So Jehoash was left with an army of not more than 50 horsemen, 10 chariots, and 10,000 footmen, for the king of Aram had destroyed them and made them like the dust of threatens. Now, the rest of the acts of Jehoash, they are all included they are not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. So Jehoash left with his ancestors, right, and he was buried in Samaria. Okay, once again, saying that the sins of Jeroboam is sexual desire primarily, saying being sexually immoral and lustful for fleshly and desires of, your defiled mind and flesh. And see, that will always make you submit to idolatry and to the other nations, because that's what they're all about. So that's what you always, you submit to the sun, the king of Aram, you know what I'm saying? Sun worshipers. Do as thou wilt, like the Hethians and the Edomites. Now Joash reigns over Israel. In the 30th year of the king Joash of Judah, Joash, son of Jehoash, began to reign. In Samaria he reigned 16 years. He also did what was evil on the side of another one. See, that's why it's frustrating. So over and over, we fuck up, man. He did not depart from the sins of Jeroboam again, which caused Israel to sin. How the rest of the acts of Joram and all the might, as well as the might with which he fought against King Amaziah of Judea, are they not written in the book of annals of the kings of Israel? So Joash slept with his ancestors, and he was buried in Samaria. Okay, now verse 14, chapter 13, the death of the great prophet, Elijah. Now when Elijah had fallen sick with the illness of which he was to die, King Joash of Israel went down to him and wept before him. Joash means, like I said, the one, they've been elevated, and he wept before him, and crying, my father, the chariots of Yahweh Israel and his horsemen. Elijah said to him, take a bow and arrow. So that he took a bow and arrow. Then he said to the king of Israel, draw the bow and arrow. He says, right? And he drew it. Elijah set his hands and he said, draw the bow and arrow. So he took a bow and arrow. Then he said to the king of Israel, draw the bow and arrow. He drew it. Elijah set hands on the king's hands. Then he said, open the window eastward. And what did it say? As the sun rises in the east and it goes down in the west, say that's where the carcass will be. Remember that, right? So at the end of the day, man, we have to conquer divination, man, and we have to conquer the desires of our flesh and our mind, because that will always lead us back to following divination, Okay, he said eastbound, right? And he opened and Elijah shot and he shot them. Then he said, the most high arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Aram. See, some worshippers, for you shall fight the Arameans in epic, in the main city until you have made the end of them. He continued to take the arrow and he took them and he said to the king of Israel, strike the ground with them, and he struck it 3 times and stopped. Then the man of Elohim was angry with him and said, you should have struck it 5 or 6, 7 times, then you would have struck down Aram until you had made an end of it. Yeah, because 7 kingdoms, same before Revelations, but now you will strike Aram only 3 times. So Elisha died and they buried him. Now bands of Moabites used to invade the land in the spring of the year as men were being buried. A marauder band was seen, and the man was thrown into the grave of Elijah. And as soon as the man touched the bones of Elijah, he came back to life and stood on his feet. Basically, the spirit of prophecy had died for a while, but this man they found in the grave, he rediscovered the ancient path. That's what it's saying. Salah, hallelujah. Israel recaptured cities from Aram. Now King Hazael of Aram oppressed Israel all the days of Jehoshaphat, but the Most High was gracious to them and had compassion on them. He turned toward them because of the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See, that's the only reason why he remembers us, for that promise to our forefathers, and will not destroy them, nor has he banished them from his presence until now. Yeah, until now he's still, rising us up, man. Allah, hallelujah. When the king Hazael of Aram died, his son Behadad succeeded him. Then Jehoshaphat, son of Jehoazad, took again from Behadad, son of Hazael, the towns that he had taken from his father. In the war, 3 times Joash defeated him and recovered the towns of Israel. But it's just a constant fight non-stop, like in Genesis, it says, enmity between serpents, that's divination, practicing sorcery, sun, moon, star worshiping, divination, practicing demons of the world, and the Israelites, man. I hope this was edifying, man. Glorify Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, glorify Yahweh, and Shalom.